Hey guys, Jake Carlson here, host of the Modern Leadership Podcast. Are you ready to focus on amplifying your leadership superpowers? Let's go. Good morning, my friends and fellow elite achievers. Welcome to the Modern Leadership Podcast, where each week we sit down with authors, entrepreneurs, and leaders to explore their journey, diving into the ups, their downs, and ultimately the lessons they learned along the way. Our goal, of course, is to show that everything is figure-outable. Today's guest expert is Kristen David. Besides being a close friend, Kristen works with business owners across the U.S. She runs the Business Mastery College with courses in company culture and the 4 pillars of successful management. She is currently working on a project called The Paris Experience for business owners. You can check out her YouTube channel for biz hacks for busy owners, and her new book, which recently became an Amazon bestseller, Up-Level Your Business, Up-Level Your Life, is available now. Kristen, welcome to Modern Leadership. So great to have you.
Thank you, Jake. Excited to be here. I've listened to this podcast a lot, and you've had some amazing speakers, so I'm honored to be here.
Well, you join the ranks of all the great people that we've had. And full disclosure for the listeners, Kristen, you and I have known each other for a couple of years. We've worked together, and I look to you as kind of a mentor in the experience that I had in some of the previous endeavors that we had. So that's who you are. Before we jump into all of this business conversation, give us a little background on a personal level. What are you up to nowadays?
Well, I'm building another successful business, and this one is all virtual based, and it allows me to live a third of my time in Paris, France. That's where I am right now. A third of my time in Seattle, Washington, in the Pacific Northwest, and a third of my time traveling and experiencing life. So I am all about thrive in the moment and get out there and build the life you want to live.
And what do you say to people who are listening right now and they say, oh, that's you, Kristen. Look at you. You could do all these things. I could never do that.
Well, I used to be an absolute slave to my law firm business. I would work 80, 85 hours a week, week after week after week, no vacations, wasn't taking home much money. And what I would say to everyone is that it is possible to absolutely transition, and it doesn't take that long to do. It's all about getting clear and focusing on what matters. And that's what I am privileged to be able to share with people these days, helping others get out of those miserable moments of business ownership when you're stuck in the trenches all the time and you just don't have time to live life. So it is possible.
I want to take you back to kind of that decision moment. So you're running your law firm. You're very successful. I mean, you talk about working tons of hours. You talk about not bringing home very much money, but you were successful. You were running a very successful business, but then something changed. You wanted to do something different. The light bulb switched on and you said, I can do more. Take us back to that moment and how that experience happened.
Well, I loved being a trial lawyer. I was defending lawyers in legal malpractice and defending doctors in medical malpractice cases, surgeons, dentists, chiropractors, docs. And I loved what I did. But in the meantime, I was trying to juggle all this business ownership and management. And I was trying to make sense of it and figure out, how do you put this all together? And I started reaching out and looking, thinking there has to be a better way. And at the time I was only doing our firm was doing about 350,000. And so it was about 30,000 a month. And I knew there had to be a better way. And I had that decision that I'm going to start searching and find what is the secret sauce for those business owners that are running successful businesses. And ultimately I found some guidance and wrote my first business plan, doubled my business in 9 months, rewrote my business plan, doubled it again. And the best part along that journey was learning how to systematize everything in my office, from the financials to the marketing. And that's what truly gave me my freedom.
Well, and you talk about a couple of things there that I think are both paths that we can go down for this conversation. One is this business plan that you created over and over and you still create today. The second one then is, looking at this opportunity that you had and, getting clear in your mindset and really growing your business. You also talk about bringing in coaching and other advisors. I think I want to talk a little bit about this business plan because right now in my personal business, that's where I'm at. I'm at this business plan stage. Talk to us a little bit about why that's important, why that's not just a waste of my time trying to put this idea together on paper.
Absolutely. So I'm pretty passionate about the business plan because it's what helped me gain that clarity. And I think that's the key component to all of this is that when you have it all running around in your head, there are all these things you know you should do, but they get lost in the priority of day-to-day things that pop up. But once you write it down and you get honest with yourself, what do you want to build? And you figure out that 12-month or 18-month point. And then you say, okay, here's where I am now. And what do I need to do quarter over quarter over quarter to build that and get to where I want to go? And it's true. Business owners are busy. And I remember my first one, I gave it about 90 minutes and I sat down and I was jumping from marketing back to people, and it was ugly. There was no structure. And that's okay. That's part of the journey. I just did a webinar in December on how to write a business plan in 60 minutes because I know that busy business owners don't have the time. And just spending a little bit of that time, I had so many business owners reach out to me and say that was the best use of 60 minutes because they got that clarity. And that's what becomes key to success.
Now, we have these business owners, and I'll be honest, Kristen, I used to be one, and I probably to a degree am still this business owner that feels like I have to do it perfectly. And so when I look at this business plan and I say, in 60 minutes, it's not going to be perfect, what do you say to the business owner that's driven to perfection that way?
Give it up because listen, one of my mantras is fail your way to success. And part of that is because as a business owner, you have to make lots and lots of decisions all through your day. And some of those decisions are going to be wrong. You have to just gather the information, make the best decision you can, and move forward. And a lot of times that's what gets you to the next pivot point where you realize, oh, we need to redirect or improvise and go a different way. And it's the same with getting started with a business plan. It's that getting started element. It's get some thoughts down and don't worry about it being perfect. You can always come back to it. And in fact, you likely will because this is what's going to start propelling you. You'll get that clarity. But in the beginning, you just have to do it. And perfection, we don't have time for that. There's too many decisions you've got to make.
And the listeners of the podcast know I talk about this all the time. Businesses grow at the speed of decisions. And it doesn't matter if you accidentally make a bad decision. If you make it quickly, you can adjust, you can adapt, you can grow and learn from it. But if you spend too much time pushing back and forth, wondering, should I not, you miss the window of opportunity to correct bad decisions, and you miss the opportunity to capitalize on good decisions. So businesses grow at the speed of decision. All right, Kristen, the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about today is you work with a lot of businesses. You talk to a lot of business owners. You've seen a lot of the challenges that they go through. What do you think the number one thing or one of the high things that you see often that business owners struggle with these days?
That's easy. Getting things off their plate. It's almost human nature to think, well, I'll just do one more thing. I'll just get to that. And if you really want that success and that growth, you have to learn to delegate. You have to learn to get things off your plate because otherwise, as the owner, you're the bottleneck. You can't get to all of the things that need to be done. And so people really struggle with that. They think, I'm not going to pay for an assistant or a virtual. I'm going to save the money. I'll take it home. And instead they spend 2 hours, 3 hours doing what a $20 an hour person could have taken off their plate, or they'll hold on to their bookkeeping themselves and waste 2.5 hours doing what a bookkeeper could bang out in 30 minutes. It's just, if we look at it from afar, it makes sense. But when you're in that moment, and no judgment zone, Jake, I used to be there too. I didn't have enough money to pay people. And I thought, well, I'll just do it all. I'll just take care of that. And it just became more and more and more on my plate that I couldn't get to.
Well, and I've seen this a lot myself and experienced this, and this is very tough for a lot of people to get over. I've struggled with this as well, and I want to ask you because there's this prevalence of like, and maybe this example is not going to be very great, but we were sitting around talking a couple of days ago, a few friends of mine, and we were talking about the amount of subscriptions that we have. So, Netflix and Amazon Prime and YouTube Live and our, Direct TV and we have the Disney Plus and there's the Hulu and we have all these subscriptions. And the reason that we have them is because we say, well, it's only $4.99 or it's only $5.99 or it's only $9.99 a month. I can handle that. And then all of a sudden we look around and we're spending a couple $100 on television entertainment. I'm concerned about the same type of thing happening within my business. And this is what business owners are good at, Kristen, is making excuses. I'm concerned that if I spend $300 on a bookkeeper and $200 on someone to answer my email and $100 for someone to TaskRabbit to pick up my lunch, that I'm just going to end up like the person who has 15 television subscriptions and never really uses any of them. Help me out with that.
So the biggest thing is setting weekly check-ins. One of the things you got to remember as a business owner is you're employing people, vendors, other virtuals to work for you. So if it's a marketing assistant, you have a weekly call for 30 minutes or maybe twice a week on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. If you have a bookkeeper, you know that they're always going to turn in their key reports by 9 a.m. on Thursday morning, and you have a standing phone call at 9:15 to ask any questions or handle anything. If there's nothing that week, fine. But this way you train everyone around you to report in, to report up, to let you know what the status is. And that's what keeps that top of mind awareness. If somebody starts not showing up or not giving updates of work performed, then you have to reassess, do I still need this person? And maybe it's time to say goodbye. But absolutely, that's the key to success of getting every expense to work for you and make the business a profit, is having those check-ins, holding people accountable to do the job they're supposed to do.
As humans, we have this tendency to fear losing what we have more than we desire something that we don't have. Let me give you an example. We've been talking about these television channels. We'll keep going. I'm more afraid to lose Amazon Prime than I am, if I never had it, to go out and buy it. And the same thing I fear when we talk about these types of things. I'm sitting with my analysis like you just talked about with my vendors, and I look at it and I go, I'm not really using this vendor to their ultimate potential, but I can't go through the process of hiring someone else, or I don't want to, or it's my fault. I'm not using them properly. How would you respond to me on that one?
So this is the beauty of having a coach that helps guide you, or at least if you're self-disciplined enough to every quarter review your budget and make sure your expenses are working for you. I'm a big fan of the 5 rules of profitability. They're out there all over on the internet. This has been around for a very long time. The 5 rules are, there's 5 basic ways you can increase profitability in a business. R, you can increase your rates. U, you can utilize your team. L, leverage technology. E, make sure every expense is paying you a profit. And S, speed of collection. And I come back to that E for expense all the time. You have to be a good money manager and come back to, is this expense earning the business a profit? And so yes, this is part of what we put into the 4 pillars of successful business management. It's the planning and the review and making sure that you do take the time as a business owner to make sure things are working on your behalf, or committing to make a difference and change. So it's a lot to juggle. And I know I'm running another soon to be multi-million dollar business. I mean, I'm growing fast and onboarding and hiring, and there are scary moments, but you stick to the basic fundamentals and foundation, and you're moving forward with a plan.
And this is a great segue into those 4 pillars of successful management. So talk to us of what the 4 pillars are.
So number 1, planning. You need a little bit of planning. It goes a long ways. Number 2 is marketing and sales, because cash flow is king. You got to be, making sure that you bring the right kind of clients in and that we're converting those into paying clients. Number 3 is management. That's, a big pillar, lots going on there with the day-to-day operations, getting the work done, managing the people, and making sure they have the right tools. And then the final 4th pillar is financial controls, because you've got to be a good money manager, or all that hard-earned money comes in the door and it goes back out the door, and in the door and back out the door. We've all been there. No judgment zone. I have too.
Order of the pillars is important, or are they all 4 equally important at the same time?
I actually think that they morph, and our logo actually has the 4 arrows. Each one's a little higher than the next, because that first one is the planning. You just have to sit down and say, okay, what are our short-term goals? What are our long-term goals? And short-term goal might be cash flow, right? That it's very clear. The marketing and sales, that's that next element of, you got to build out a little bit of a plan. You don't have to master it and have like this massive marketing plan all completed. You just have to have enough clarity of how are you going to bring in your ideal client and start executing. And then it's straight into management, where you've got to deal with the day-to-day operations, and whatever you promised in sales, we now have to deliver. So, and then in the financials, yes, you need to make sure you're paying attention, especially as you grow. But each of them, and then you kind of cycle back around and run through it again. I'm a big fan of, create quarterly goals, and, every 90 days, get clear, what do we need to do?
Why the time frame 90 days? What's the significance of like a quarter period of your business life cycle?
My belief is that you can get more done in 90 days than you ever imagined if you just set some goals and then break it down. Okay, what do I need to do in month 1, 2, and 3? And having that clarity, write it down so you see it and it's visual. And then you think, that's not that hard to get to. If you every 2 weeks you do what needs to be done. And it's rewarding, frankly, every 90 days to see that growth. And it should be coming through in onboarding new people, getting things off your plate, and seeing more revenue come in. That's all part of the fun of business ownership.
And you've heard it said that we can accomplish more in 90 days than we think we can, but oftentimes we don't accomplish as much in like 7 days as we overestimate what we can do in a week and underestimate what we can do in a quarter. As we're sitting down doing this planning stage and we're focused on our goals for 90 days, there's some schools of thought that would say, set realistic goals. Yes, stretch goals, but set reasonable, realistic goals that you can attain. Then there's other schools of thought that say, hey, let's 10x it. Let's shoot for the stars, because even if we shoot for the stars, we're going to end up, or shoot for the moon, end up in the stars, or however that goes. How about our goal setting? Should we be reasonable, realistic, or should we be just launching out of the stratosphere?
I think it depends on what the goal is. I mean, if you're currently doing $20,000 a month and you say, I want to in 90 days be doing $150,000 a month, that's, unless you're maybe doing something illegal, probably not going to happen. And so, but if it's, I want to hire 3 people, and you set the intention and you start looking, and next thing you know, the right people come into your life, and it actually all comes together so much faster than you ever believed. And so sometimes it's just a matter of get clear on what you want, set that intention. And yes, I think sometimes you can shoot for the moon and you can get pretty close on some of them. I think it just depends on what the goal is.
Well, and you and I are both big fans and believers in coaching, and I want to have you talk to us just for a couple of minutes here, why you feel coaching and having an outside advisor, somebody who has, not as much emotional attachment to the decision, helping guide your direction as a business owner.
Absolutely. I mean, I've believed in coaching for a lot of years, and I work with a lot of individuals. And sure, there are some people who they just need the know-how. They're actually pretty good at holding themselves accountable and doing the work, but they don't know what they don't know, and they need someone to help guide them to craft it the right way. And I think a lot of that comes from, unfortunately, in schools, especially professional schools, they don't teach us all this stuff on business management and how to streamline your business and create the systems. And so for some people, they need to create the plan. For other people, they know what they need to do, but they need someone to hold them accountable. And we all get inside our own heads. We've got our little neighbors, the little voices in our heads telling us little stories. And it's great to have an outside coach who's going to help you see, are you on track or are you telling yourself stories, and give you that kind of kick in the pants all the time when you need it, and give you the support and mentoring when you need it. And I think the role of a coach is many different things at different times, depending on what you need. So yes, I think having a coach it just makes it so much easier to hit those successful levels and overcome hurdles.
And whenever I hear that kind of pushback on coaching, I think of Harvey McKay, who talked about having 20 coaches. You know, I have a coach for speaking. I have a coach for writing. I have a coach for my business. I have a coach for my accounting. You know, surrounding yourself with people who could take you to the next level. It's really the shortcut. And I don't want to use shortcut in a sense that you're avoiding or getting around doing the work that needs to be done. But it is somewhat of a shortcut to success, isn't it?
It is. I mean, that's part of why I created my current business, Up Leveling Your Business, is because I think there's so much there that business owners, they know they want. They want to hire a marketing assistant. They know they want to work with a virtual assistant, but they're kind of scared because they're not sure what needs to be done. And when you have someone that's been there, done that, and who has it laid out in the framework and organization and templates, it makes it so much easier. Why, as a business owner, would you reinvent the wheel when you can fast track and get all the knowledge and all the information from someone else who's already done it? So I think that's the beauty that a coach can bring to the table.
And in some of the circles that you and I cross paths in, you are known as the process systems, the procedure queen, guru, the person who really just understands and really can implement systems in business. We've talked around the edges a little bit about this, but this is really something that we probably got to have you back on the show to talk more in depth. But just give us a really quick 1 minute. Why are systems so important within businesses?
So systems run the business, the people run the systems. You can't build a stable, thriving business without the systems. If you just build it based on people, then when that key person leaves, all of a sudden your business can come to a grinding halt. And the systems are what allow you to give love to that person who just told you that they're getting married and quitting, and be confident that you can hire a new person and have them up to speed in 3 days. When you have everything documented with templates and processes, everything's made common by written explanation. And so it's that stability factor. I will also tell you, I'm such a fan in so many ways from my own experiences, but I'll just share right now, Jake, when I sold my law firm business, my policies and procedures manual, just that one asset alone, was $100,000 negotiating point, because everything was documented. It allowed someone else to come in and have that clarity for every position, everything that needed to be done in the office. So it's what creates that stability, and it also creates equity.
Well, we're just giving them a little teaser because we got to bring you back on and talk more in depth about that, because I think that is a step that most of us business owners right now need to maximize our intention on. We got to pay more attention to what we're doing right now in our systems. But alas, we're at that time in the podcast where we switch gears and talk about learning from leaders and find out a little bit of personal to go with this business conversation. Sound like a plan?
Sounds good.
All right. Our first question then is the book currently on your Kindle or bedside table. What are you reading?
The Airbnb Way. I listened to your podcast, and you had Joseph McCallion, and it was I read the previous books that he had written, and so I was excited to see that it was out and started it and loving it.
And I don't know what it is about Airbnb, but I just love the company. I mean, I know what it is. Look, we spent 300 nights in an Airbnb a couple years ago when we were traveling. We had some experiences that were not ideal. And Airbnb stepped up amazingly with their customer service, with the way that they reacted and responded. And I won't go into the details, but they are a stand-up company. At least they were for us, and we really enjoyed it. So when he came on and talked about that new book, and I have a copy sitting right here on my desk, I just thought it was fantastic. What a great book.
Yeah.
All right, our second question is your leadership superpower.
Adaptable.
You know what's so funny, Kristen? Guess what mine is?
What is it?
Adaptability.
Hey.
And we're talking about the leadership superpower assessment that you can find on jakeacarlson.com/superpower, where you find one of the 5 leadership platforms that you lead from. And both Kristen and I lead from the adaptability. But I want to ask you, now that you've kind of gone through that assessment and you read up a little bit on it, what do you think? Are you an adaptable leader, and what does that mean to you?
I loved it. I loved the assessment. I loved the summary that came at the end. I think that as a business owner, many of us have some of those adaptable traits, but it has to do with you've got to learn to be able to improvise, to pivot. You've got to be resilient in many ways, but you have to be flexible because nothing's ever going to go exactly as planned. And you have to give your team, as you lead them, as you build them up, room to grow. And it's okay to make mistakes as long as we redirect them into how to do it better next time. So everything I read in there was spot on. I laughed a little because some of those statements were so very true.
I love it. Thank you. All right. Our next question then is a leadership philosophy, quote, or mantra, something that you live by.
Mine is thrive in the moment. The thrive in the moment means every single day, whether it's pouring rain, beautiful day, whether it's the greatest stuff is happening or whether the world feels like it's falling in, find the silver lining, find the goodness there, because everything always teaches us a lesson that will help us move forward in this journey of life, and enjoy every moment you have.
And this is so important, Kristen. I want to make sure that our listeners are paying attention here, because I think as business owners, we tell ourselves, when I get to the next milestone, then I'll be able to spend more time in the moment, right? I'm going to put in my 90 hours this year, and then next year I'll be able to spend time with my family. Or I'm going to, blow off this, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to focus on this, or I'm going to invest in this, and then I will enjoy. We play that when-then game, and I think it's so important that we take it back and thrive in the moment and recognize that there is power in the moment. So a great philosophy. Our final question for you then is the book that you most often recommend or refer to friends, family, and colleagues.
The current one, I actually have more than one, but the current one is 3 Vital Questions by David Emerald. It's a great workplace, how to help your team step up and get more off your plate. So that's been my favorite one since I read it a year ago. But I think lifetime, there are 3 books that have had the most impact that I've read multiple times, and they're actually a solid foundation to my new book. And that is The E-Myth Revisited, Profit First, and Built to Sell. And Built to Sell is all about those systems. And it's those systems that make everything operate well and streamlined. And in my book, every chapter ends with an action plan and talking about how you can build systems in each and every chapter.
All right, Kristen. Well, it's been a fabulous journey with you, not only as a friend and all the time that you and I have spent together, but on this podcast and really getting your message out to the modern leadership audience. Before we let you go, and thank you so much for coming on, how can we find out more about you and get involved in either the Paris experience or buy a copy of your book? How can we get more about you?
You can go to www.uplevelingyourbusiness.com. And we have lots of information about our programs. The Paris Experience Workshop is a 5-day business owners workshop here in Paris. It's going to be so much fun, just an epic workshop of learning to scale your business, but also interactive experiences each and every day. For instance, I will be throwing all these business owners into a cooking class with some pretty amazing teaching moments. and just having a lot of fun in Paris. I believe, learning should be a fun endeavor. So excited to help business owners get out of that machine cycle spin of trying to run around in circles and instead really thrive in life.
Very cool. We will link your website up and a copy of your book on the website so they can go one-stop shop and find all that information. Kristen, it's been a pleasure having you as a guest on the podcast. Thank you for being this week's Modern Leadership Guest Expert.
Thank you, Jake.
All right, my friends, and a big thank you to Kristen for coming on the show. I love talking about systems, processes, just getting your business running like a machine and really setting those goals that will take you to the next level. I, as a business owner, multiple business owner, love the kind of coaching that she does. And in fact, as we hung up today, she scheduled an hour of time with me to sit down and go through my business plan because I, like Kristen, believe in coaching. And I look to her as kind of a mentor, a coach in my life. And so this is going to be a great opportunity for us to sit down, work on my business, and figure out where I can make some adjustments. I can make some changes to really explode my business this year. Of course, everything that we talked about on this episode can be found at jakeacarlson.com/ML166, episode 166. And until next week, I want to wish you the very best of days, an even better life. And remember, everything is figure-outable. Thanks for listening to the Modern Leadership Podcast. You can find me on Facebook at Speaker Jake, on Twitter at Jake A. Carlson, and of course the website, jakeacarlson.com. See you there.